Thank you so much for joining us on the I Am Unbreakable podcast.
You're welcome.
And the reason I brought you here is because you've known me for a couple of decades.
Then I met you when you were 9, because you keep telling me you're 29, right?
Correct.
I'm 29 too.
Are you?
28 times.
Plus tax.
Plus tax.
So one of the things I found really interesting, what you said to me yesterday, was we were chatting about kind of what I'm doing. And
I said a lot of interesting things yesterday.
Okay, this is not going to be a
No,
serious
it's good. Go ahead.
podcast.
Okay, we'll be a little
No,
serious.
we're not
I'll
going to
try.
be serious
Okay.
at all. But
right, yes.
no, but I found it really interesting because knowing you for as long as I do, I've never known kind of your past. So for those of you who don't know how famous you are, you're in the medical field.
I am.
And you also, but prior to this life, you were an auto mechanic.
Yep.
And he was actually, part of my story is being in high school and all my friends, AKA Rob, encouraged me to take auto because remember I didn't want to take sewing and cooking and all that fun stuff. And you guys are like, come on, you got to come. And I did 3 weeks of relentless p-scowling. I ended up coming into auto mechanics. And you were always a huge kind of supporter of me. And now I realize how many decades later of all women sort of entering any field regardless of gender.
Right.
And you've also got 2 girls and
I
a
do.
son, but I think you also encourage
like
them.
daughters, not other girls. Right.
Correct.
True.
But you've always been like sort of a neutral about who cares about gender. And even what you do now, like you were saying that you train women and all that other fun stuff. But I never knew. Let's go back to...
I can't even tell you how many women I've trained over the years. I can't. There's so many.
Really?
There's so many. Yeah.
But that's so awesome. But I just even want to go back to prior to what you're doing now, because this is what I found interesting that I didn't know. So maybe you can explain, because the way I explain it is probably not really the way it happened, but you got certified or something to teach women to do auto mechanics. Again, very male-dominated industry.
That was back in the 80s. Yeah, I want to say 88, maybe 89, something like that, probably 88.
Okay, so what happened?
The service manager had asked me if I would take on an apprentice. And I've already had apprentices by then. I've had a few, right? And they come and go, and some stick around, right? I still remember Kamran Navran. He was from Iran. And, 40-year-old guy right into a brand new country, Canada. And I took him on as an apprentice. And, we struggled with English,
Wow.
I knew nothing Iranian, He's fine. He did really well for a long time, It just took a little while to get him or to figure out how I can explain things
Communicate
to him.
to him.
Yeah,
but
we
you
did,
also
right?
shared with me yesterday, I'm the same as you, is I'm a visual learner. So
Yeah, exactly.
I would assume something like auto mechanics, it's something that you actually get in and get greasy and you're like, this is what I'm doing. And it's kind of like the show me state, right?
I'm not the best reader, never have been, and to actually do it hands-on was how I learned, right?
That's awesome.
That's also how I taught.
Right.
And when the service manager said to take on another apprentice, I said, yeah, sure, no problem. I like this because it slows me down a little bit in the beginning, but then it pays off for itself afterwards in 2 ways. One way is that they're actually making me a little bit of extra money, so it's paying me back for what I taught them, but it's also giving somebody else an opportunity to have a career, right?
Love that.
Yeah. But he didn't tell me that it was going to be a woman.
Did you have a problem with it?
No, of course not. Love women. Right?
We know this.
But I didn't have a problem with it. I actually thought that it would be really, I don't want to say the word neat, but it was
interesting,
it was
different.
It was totally different.
New
right?
challenge.
New challenge. And
was it your first woman apprentice that you had ever had at that point?
First,
okay.
number one, right? And that was in Ontario. And on top of that, I had to go to a couple of Ontario school board meetings with,
European, we talk
right?
with our hands. We're like,
yeah. So I had to go to a couple of school board meetings with. I don't know who these professionals are. It could have been Albert Einstein for all I know, Yeah. And then me as a mechanic, and I left work to go there, so I'm in my mechanic clothes, But I participated, and I had a few things to say, And
what was the premise of the course? Was it because she was a female coming on?
It was I got to find that paper. I know I have
You're
it at home.
We'll attach it somehow to this podcast.
It says how to integrate women into a male-dominated industry, something like that, right?
That's awesome.
But this goes back into '88, right?
Right.
So we did it. She worked for 3 months, and then she left. She didn't want to do it or something. I'm not really sure what happened. It was a long time ago, right? But she stuck with me for 3 months.
That's awesome.
You know, and she was great. And it wasn't one of those, okay, well, you know what, go take this car, grab me coffee. You know, I actually taught her how to do a lot of things.
You had her hands-on.
Hands-on.
Doing, but you know what I love is the fact that her being a woman, and like you said, you welcomed her regardless of gender, where a lot of male-dominated industries do not welcome other females.
Well, because they're probably I don't want to say that I know what they're thinking, but
you're in your opinion,
I would say they're probably it's not competitive. It's worried that they might do a better job than the man would do. If it's physical, okay, you really don't have too much to worry about. But when you start thinking about,
I smell a challenge coming on. Okay. But anyways, saying.
But if it came to men and women for mental Olympics, hands down, I think the woman would be better.
Well, you and I talked about multitasking, right?
I can't multitask to save my life.
Well, science proves that women can think about multiple things multiple times per minute.
Wait.
Where a guy, a male, is still, their thought process is different. It doesn't mean one is better than the other. It's just different.
So as a woman is thinking about, what she's doing right now, what she needs to do later on during the day, thinking about her family, what's for dinner, right? What's happening at business, right?
Yeah.
So she's multitasking, right? The guy is thinking about what's he going to do with his wife, multiple things when he gets home. So he's not really multitasking because he's focused on one thing.
Yes. Yes.
And I mean, 99% of the time is sex.
Yeah. Is it really?
Well.
You're like,
it is what
figuratively speaking for me, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is such a fair statement.
It is.
And so let me ask.
But for multitasking, no, hands down, it's not only multitasking, it's the way women think. And the way women think, they think things through, but they also add the bit of emotion into it as well, right? And if you're adding, and this is only my observation, I have zero fact on this whatsoever, right? But you've got a lot of 57 years of experience,
life experience, right?
So when a woman thinks of something, they think of, like, say a woman's going to make a decision, right? And I tried to teach my kids this as often as I could, right? Is that when you make a decision, when a guy makes a decision, it's, there you go, we're done. That's it. And he's moved on to the next one. Fact is fact, right?
Yeah.
When a woman makes a decision, she thinks, okay, if I make this decision now, who the fuck's it going to affect down the line, right?
Yeah.
So if it's going to affect Joe and Steve and Susan and Emma and whoever else, right? And it's going to affect them negatively, I have to change my decision, right? It's too late for the guy. He's already made it.
Yeah,
moved
on to the next.
He's already put the visa number down. It's done.
Exactly.
Yeah, so he will, obviously, apologize or, cry ignorance later. You know what I mean? I
don't know.
Yeah, but, and I'm not against guys. I'm really not. It's just the thinking process is too totally
you're so
different.
not. You're such a man's man.
My son, who's been kicking the shit out of himself since he was 14 to be a soccer guy, and we go down to Texas, I think it was like 5 years ago or something like that, right, for tryouts. And it was fucking hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so he's trying out, and there is one woman coach. One. And I pushed him so hard to go work for her, to go under her. Wow. And just to get the idea. And I explained to him, I said, you'll see the difference between how she thinks and how all the other coaches think. And we were done with the day, and he says, you know what, Dad, you were right. She was totally different.
100%.
All the other coaches were the same, right? And I think she was a coach for, I want to say Abilene, Texas University or something like that. And he was offered a spot, right? And he says, I can't. Why? Right? Well, it's Abilene. And he told me they were number whatever 100 or something like that in the roster, right? So
you were just thinking that experience would bring something different. I always have looked at that too where, you know, all of my boys, as you know, played competitive hockey.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't know as much as the other coaches, let's say, about power plays and this and that, but I just thought, you know, threaten to take away all their electronics for the whole weekend if they don't do the plays they were taught. They do the plays they were taught and they screw up or whatever happens and they lose the game, fair enough.
Right.
Take their electronics away. Super simple.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, they wouldn't do it.
See? Yeah.
I'm just saying, I would have used a different approach. Like, you kind of got to think sometimes, in my opinion, outside of the box. And I think that's what a lot of women bring to it.
Well, let me tell you what I've been doing at the pub lately where I go.
Oh, great.
So I go to a pub, and I'm 4 days a week or something like that, right? And I play a lot of pool, and I meet a lot of people, right? And a lot of the women that I meet, I'll go up to them and I'll say, come play pool, right? Because we usually play doubles, right? So come play pool. So it'll be me and my friend, and we'll split. So he'll play with a girl and I'll play with a woman, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm terrible at it. I can never play. Oh, come on. Everybody's been shitty at once, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's funny, you know, when you start to teach them how to play, they like it, you know? But you have to spend the time. You can't get frustrated when they miss the ball, you know? And I'm watching other tables and they miss the ball.
Even
and their boyfriend is like, oh, my God, you suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, she's going to suck forever now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're not helping.
Way to, you know, cheer her on type of thing.
But you know what? There's not a single time that, you know, the night's over with and the woman would say, you know what, man, I really appreciated it. That was a lot of fun. You know? And I never thought that I would ever play pool, but, you know, I'm going to come back and play. And I said, come back anytime you want.
I love that.
You know? Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And but
it's just teaching them.
Well,
you have to have some sort of like a welcoming, neutral, non-negative,
non-gender
environment, right?
100%. But that's what I loved about seeing your photos of what you do now, where you do what is it? I guess assisted medical devices.
Yeah.
For people.
I deal with a lot of handicapped people. I do wheelchairs for like power and manual wheelchairs for lots of people who
transferring people and whatnot and getting them whatever. But I love the photos with your, I don't know if she was your apprentice or what she was.
Emma?
Yeah.
Emma's 20. She's new.
Yeah.
She's cute.
But it was so nice to see her in there with the drill going into the, I know, but you know, to your point, most men, I believe, and what you have explained to me, would have grabbed the drill and said, don't worry about it. Let's hurry up. I'll do it. You know, drill in it was the. I
didn't do any of those.
What was what are the bars called that you put in?
Grab bars and top.
Grab bars, yeah, in the bathrooms for elderly or those who need assistance.
I didn't get her to just do that.
I understand, but that is still huge.
I got her to actually do the placement.
Oh,
so the couple of pictures that I showed you is where
she's actually doing the
to
work.
Her where the the correct ergonomic spot would be for her condition. Everybody's is different.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I showed her how to do that, and then I told her that she's got to put them all in, and I showed her how to do it.
Was she nervous at first?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But then, she got the hang of it, and she was, you know, if there's a little inkling of, oh my God, I might screw something up or whatever, she'd just look at me, and I'm like, you're fine, just do it.
Yeah.
You know, and she was fine. She totally did it.
That's great.
But that's not the best part.
What's the best part?
The best part is, and she brought a tear to my eye, actually, which was kind of cool, that she, when we left, and she made me pull over, right?
Aww.
And she says to me, what did she say to me? You know, my dad never really took the time to teach me anything. My mom didn't teach me either.
Aww.
You know, she does, but not like this. But every time they taught me something and I went wrong, then they're all frustrated and they're mad and stuff like that. And I know that I screwed up a couple of times in there. But you didn't chastise me. You didn't say anything negative. You just said, "Don't worry about it. It's fine." And
encouraged,
let's just move on, right?
Yeah.
And she says, "I can't believe that you're taking the time to do this to me. That's really special."
That is so nice. Now you're going to bring a tear to my eye.
I just about went right now.
I know. So. I don't want my eyelashes falling off, so no crying.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. So what do you think would be a really good message for other men teaching women? Doesn't matter if they're...
Lower your testosterone, man.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a great one. Yeah. That is great. But
that's the reason I don't train men anymore. I don't. It's too much of this.
Yeah.
You know, do you know how to do this? Yep. Okay. Do it. Well, now it's fucked.
Yeah.
you know, but you said you know how to do it. Well, I knew how to do most of it. It's not what you said.
Yeah.
You know, whereas if I ask a woman that says, do you know how to do this? No, of course not. I have no idea. I'm clueless. Just teach me. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So you find that they're better learners, or they're better at taking direction, maybe?
Way more patient. You know what I mean? They are not I don't want to say better at taking direction. No.
When I say direction, if they don't know how to do something.
No, I want to say, I don't even like that word. I don't. I like team player, you know, and I like to, even the assistant that I have, Emma, which is the one I showed you the pictures of, right? I told her, I said, I'm not your boss. You know, I'm not your boss. I don't want to be your boss. I don't want to be anybody's boss, right? And I don't want you to be my assistant, although I need an assistant, right? But I want a partner.
Yeah.
You know, and the partner that I want is somebody who can help me, right? And I said, don't be afraid to speak up. I mean, she sees a lot of the clients that I do too, especially the days that are slow for her. She can come with me, right?
Gotcha.
And when she comes with me and I say, I need your eyes, right? And she says, but I don't know anything. I said, that's the whole point. You don't need to know anything, right? The things that I've seen for 32 years now, it's just habit. Like, yeah, I'll do this. Yep, it's fine. I figured it out, right? But I'm missing out on everything else because I just go right to what I know, right? But there's a lot of things that she sees, and of course other people too, that I never would because I'm so, I guess, entrenched in how I do things, right? So she could say, well, what about this and what about that?
So fresh set of eyes.
Fresh set of eyes.
And just a different perspective.
Different perspective. Totally different perspective. And she's not the first. She's not the first. I'm at least a dozen or two women that I've trained over the years.
Female assistants. That's awesome.
Not female assistants, just women that I've trained in this industry, right?
But they start off as a trainee or assistant, whatever you want to call it. And so then they've moved up. But but your industry is primarily male dominated from what I understand, because there is quite a lot of physical work. I mean, transferring patients and getting them onto certain equipment and whatnot. So you've got to have somebody that's got the strength. But then, like you said, you feel that women add the kind of patience and the kindness and the nurturing that maybe some men might not have.
There are some of our male customers that will not deal with a woman at all.
Oh, I know.
You know, and just absolutely not women.
Oh, I know. Sometimes
and those are certain nationalities, let's say. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I get it all the time. If I pick up the phone, they're like, are you the secretary? Why would you immediately assume I'm a secretary? Because I'm female? I'm like, nope, I'm one of the owners, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh. Or, you know, they call on the weekend. And they call on, or they'll call on the weekend. Is this the answering service? Nope.
Really?
Yeah, constantly. A lot of the time, yeah.
No, I mean, you have an answering service?
No, I don't have an answering service. I have people to answer the phone. But it's just funny that people automatically assume because you're a woman, right?
True.
So you would say that. And what tips would you give to females entering the workplace that maybe don't have a mentor like you that is as patient, won't maybe let them get, you know, their hands dirty in whatever they're doing, and won't be able to physically do certain things because their mentor's not allowing them to do so? I think you kind of said one of them was speak up. I mean, in a respectful manner, but they've got to say something, right? They can't just be looking in the shadows.
Just reiterate over and over and over again that you can do it. You know, don't give up. You know, and if they're still saying, no, we don't want you to do it, well, that's probably not the right place for you to be, and move on. You know?
Right.
My daughter, for example, Hannah, she's, she graduated high school, and then she went to work for a place called BD Diesel in BC. They make auto parts, and so she was warehouse person. She killed it. She was doing great. And then she wanted to be an auto mechanic, and I said, oh, God, no, please don't do that, right?
Please don't follow in Daddy's footsteps.
And she actually tried, you know, to get an apprenticeship, right, and couldn't get one. And even through, my brother was helping her out because he's still in the car industry over there.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get anything together immediately. But then a machinist...
Was it because she was female? Was it regarding gender?
You know what? Maybe.
Because I find that hard.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe because the auto industry is thriving right now, right?
Right.
There's a shortage of vehicles. So I would think she would be able to. So what happened?
She didn't get a mechanic job.
What did she get?
She was telling me that they were looking for a machinist in
But a trade still.
Yeah, it's a trade. It's
That's
a hands-on,
awesome.
it's a male-dominated trade.
I love
and so
that.
she was doing she was telling me about this machinist job, and I said, you know, your grandfather passed away in 2000. You never met him, but he was a machinist, right? A tool and die maker machinist.
Yeah.
Right? And he made a great living, you know, and he worked with a ton of machines. And she goes, what kind of machines?
Oh.
So I was explaining it to her, and she took the apprenticeship. Right?
I love that.
And she was loving it. So as these guys were teaching her, and I mean, I love these guys. I never met them, but all I heard was good things about these guys.
That's great.
Right?
That's great.
And
I love hearing. These are the stories I love.
Yeah, and they took her under their wing, you know, and she had to sort of blend between the machinist and the warehousing till they worked her out of the warehousing and replaced her with somebody else, right? And then she became full-time machinist.
That's
but
awesome.
Then she told me just a short little while ago that she doesn't want to do the machinist thing anymore. And I said, why? And she says, because I'm like you. I need to be busy all the time, right?
Right.
And when you set up the machine, then you just stare at it. I don't want to stare at it. I want to set up another machine and another and another.
She
and
wants
I can't
to.
do that.
But you know what I love? She challenged herself, you know, to get here.
Yeah.
She got there, then she went here. Now she's, you know, for me that's growth, right? I mean, I always say, you know, to young people, it's not. Oh, and you know what? Aside from the pandemic and all the other things our youth have, you know, kind of going against them for their future,
like
sometimes it's
Like rent?
that is another podcast for another time.
I'll be here.
But no, now you made me lose my train of thought. So it's not always about shiny. It's not always about finding what you want. Sometimes it's a process of elimination, and it's about finding out what maybe you don't want. So she wanted to do that. She did it. She challenged herself. She got to where she wanted to be, and she's kind of like, okay, next.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay to try multiple things. I mean, she's so young, right? And my thing is, people change, you know, their careers, aka me, at all stages of life. So regardless of gender, regardless of age, social status, race, religion, to me, it's like, do what you love what you do. You know, you had a famous, wonderful saying the other night too.
I still
to this
believe
day,
that with my heart. I just forget it half of it. You know, half the time I forget what it is. But it's if you do what you do for money, you'll never get it. You'll never get the money. If you do what you love for the right reasons, money will find you.
I love that.
And I had the auto mechanics job that I had was great. I loved it, you know. And when I left it, I was terrified, and I lost a six-figure job. I went down to, you know, whatever, 5 figures or whatever, but a low 5-figure, right? I was making a third of what I was making before, but
you loved what you did.
oh my God, the going, feeling like you're a hero every single day because you helped somebody who really needed help, not somebody who needed their Lincoln fixed, you know, or not somebody that needed an oil change, you know, as an emergency. It's because somebody was stuck in bed because their wheelchair wouldn't move anymore, right?
Or they had bed sores and they needed to be transferred. So you did it. It's sort of what I'm doing and what I did, where I gave up a 6-figure job that I loved and I knew I was helping people, but I wanted more and I wanted to help people on a bigger scale or a grander scale. Yeah. You did the same, and it is so
one by one.
satisfying. But it doesn't matter.
It's very satisfying.
But does it matter? My whole thing is, if you touch one life or 10,000 lives, what's the difference?
That's
a wrap.